Good morning. It's Sunday, June 8th, 2025. President Trump has ordered deployment of the National Guard to Los Angeles following 2 days of protest in response to ICE raids throughout the city. It's the latest escalation in the Trump administration's efforts to detain and deport unauthorized immigrants across the country. Immigrant advocates and Democrats argue that the raids are sweeping up many people beyond the criminals the White House says are the primary focus of the crackdown. This morning, we want to hear your thoughts on the ICE raids and the president's order to deploy the National Guard in response to the LA protest. Our phone lines for Republicans, 202-748-8001, for Democrats, 202-748-8000, and for Independents, 202-748-8002. If you'd like to text us, that number is 202-748-8003. Please be sure to include your name and where you're writing in from. And we're also on social media at facebook.com/cspan. Now, for a recap of how we got to this point, here's a story in the LAist news outlet from California. Federal agents conduct immigration raids across LA. Trump orders National Guard response. Going on to say that federal agents conducted a series of immigration sweeps across Los Angeles on Friday, prompting anger and resistance from onlookers and immigrant rights groups that have braced for this type of action for months. By Saturday, tensions were rising between state and local authorities and Trump administration officials who said they were calling up the National Guard in response to what they said were violent mobs attacking ICE officers and federal law enforcement agents carrying out basic deportation operations in Los Angeles. With that order, President Trump issued a statement saying, "In light of these incidents and credible threats of continued violence by the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, I hereby call into federal service members and units of the National Guard to temporarily protect ICE and other United States government personnel who are performing federal functions, including the enforcement of federal law, and to protect federal property at locations where protests against these functions are occurring or are likely to occur based on current threat assessments and planned operations." Now, California Governor Gavin Newsom also issued a response to this order, saying the federal government is moving to take over the California National Guard and deploy 2,000 soldiers. That move is purposefully inflammatory and will only escalate tensions. LA authorities are able to access law enforcement assistance at a moment's notice. We are in close coordination with the city and county, and there is currently no unmet need. The Guard has been admirably serving LA throughout recovery. This is the wrong mission and will erode public trust. White House Executive Associate Director for Enforcement and Removal Operations, Tom Homan, spoke about the ICE raids in California on Fox News on Saturday. Here's a clip.
Look, we're going to continue doing our job. And yesterday, we got 118 arrests. I was out here yesterday to kick off this operation. And what people aren't talking about is ICE served, several warrants yesterday. These were criminal warrants. This is a criminal investigation. And today we're continuing operations. They're not going to shut us down. We're out there right now doing operations. We're going to keep doing operations. We brought in more resources to push back the protesters, but I'll say it again, a serious warning. You can protest all you want. You got your First Amendment rights. But if you cross that line of impediment, or you're putting hands on officers or destroy property, you will be prosecuted. There's zero tolerance on crossing that line, and that's what we're standing by. We're bringing more resources as we speak. We'll have more resources tonight. We're going to continue doing the job that American people voted Donald Trump in office to do, and we're not going to apologize for doing it.
Also on Saturday, in an interview with a local television station, California Democrat Jimmy Gomez spoke out against the ICE raids.
This administration is operating outside the bounds of the law. They're doing tactics like showing up with masks. They don't present themselves. They show up in unmarked cars, and that's all to not only enforce immigration laws, but to intimidate. And then on top of that, they're starting to go to sensitive sites, arresting people when they're presenting themselves at court or going through the asylum process or checking in. never been done before. And what that happens is people stop showing up, or when they at hospitals or at schools, at graduations, you present this fear because they want that fear to permeate so people self-deport. That's absolutely shameful.
Congressman, what would you say to those, really quickly, to those who are watching at home saying, you know what, the Department of Homeland Security is just enforcing the federal law, making sure that those who are undocumented don't stay in this country?
Well, we have seen over and over again that they have also arrested U.S. citizens. They have thrown the U.S. citizens to the ground. They have put them in jail. And then they had a fight to prove, even when they had their documents, their passports, their identification, that they were arrested. So we know that this is not just about them. This is about intimidation and what's going to occur. And it's intimidation based on how you look, right? I haven't seen a Canadian here who lives here illegally or who is documented been thrown to the ground. It's always a Latino or a brown person that gets detained.
That was U.S. Representative Jimmy Gomez, who represents part of the L.A. area in California. Now, our numbers again for your thoughts on the ICE raids and the National Guard deployment. For Republicans, 202-748-8001. For Democrats, 202-748-8000. And for Independents, 202-748-8002. Let's start with Billy in Carrier Mills, Illinois, on our line for Democrats. Good morning, Billy.
Hey, how you doing this morning?
Fine, thank you.
What I want to say is this: California is Mexico.
Billy, can you turn down the volume on your TV, please, and then please continue your comment?
Yes. How's that?
You need to turn it all the way down for us to hear you clearly.
Okay, it's all the way down.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Okay. What I want to say is this: from Florida all the way up to Oregon and Washington is Mexico. It's been Mexico forever. Only thing we did was take over that state. That state is a country within itself. The president don't have a right to send those people somewhere where they don't belong. If he was sent back to Germany, how would he feel? So what they need to do is just leave California alone and let California be California, because California is Mexico. It's been that for thousands of years. Look at all the names of the cities in California. All of them got Mexican names.
Okay, let's hear from Rory, who's in California, on our line for Republicans. Good morning, Rory.
Good morning. I had a feeling this would happen one day. Over 20 years ago, I was in detention across from Terminal Island, and now it's vastly bigger, and everything is happening. I think those Marines, Al Pendleton, they're going to be troops that will cut San Diego from Northern California. And I think a lot of people now are going to be very thoughtful. It's becoming, well, how shall I phrase it? You won't be able, if you're an alien, to talk back to an American citizen and they'll make it clear. Not because it's right or wrong, you just won't. And everybody's going to start to hide, and now they're going to get them. And I think Trump will tell Newsom they'll bring all the troops in and they will deport these people. If they have legal documentation, they'll stay eventually, but they will get arrested. So that's it. Goodbye.
Marshall is in Chicago, Illinois, on our line for Independence. Good morning, Marshall.
Good morning, America. Thank you for this opportunity. C-SPAN's wonderful, and I really enjoy your moderation ever since you joined the staff at C-SPAN. I think you bring excellent decorum to the weekends, and I am delighted when you're on. I just wanted to use my time to celebrate the 81st anniversary of the invasion of D-Day and the Allied forces and all that we accomplished there as a team. and telling America that 3.5 years from now we're going to get our act together, and America will once again be a leader with a united nation.
So Marshall, our topic this morning is the ICE raids across the country, as well as Trump ordering a National Guard deployment in California. Do you have thoughts on that?
My thoughts are that it really is another indication of our own government unleashing troops on our citizenry. How much lower can we go here? And think about all the jobs that Americans do not want to do, and these individuals are doing them for us. And if you really want to make an impact, go after the people who employ them. Prison time, heavy fines. I think we're taking on the victims here, and we really should be dealing with the business owners, but we never hear about that in this administration. Thank you very much.
Homer is in Kansas City, Missouri, on our line for Democrats. Good morning, Homer.
Good morning, America, and thank you for C-SPAN. This is just furthering this current POTUS we have, and I use that term lightly. Is just he even said to Welker that he doesn't know whether he needs to follow the Constitution, and you got to know that the guy doesn't know the Constitution, and. You know, it would be different, but these people show up unannounced, wearing masks, and it's like I said, it's turned into a police state. But this all started back whenever they did the drug war, and they were doing the same thing, no-knock raids. But it's just ridiculous. And habeas corpus, he wants to suspend habeas corpus. This goes back to the Magna Carta, for God's sakes. It's unreal. And to think that once upon a time, Reagan gave like 2 million, mostly Mexicans, amnesty. It just boggles the mind. And prices were going to go down day one, and that's not going to happen because of what they're doing here. Because who's going to pick the berries? Who's going to pick the produce? This guy, in the caller before that talked about D-Day, Trump said it wasn't even a great day. It's beyond belief what this country has devolved into. And you notice that the Trump supporters will call in, and like at least half of them, I doubt if they even have a GED. Trump loves the uneducated. And that's where we're going.
We don't need to be attacking the other callers. Let's hear from Susan in Worcester, Massachusetts, on our line for Republicans. Good morning, Susan.
That was a Democrat I just heard. Very, very stupid man.
We don't need to be attacking our other callers, but what's your point, Susan?
I'm sorry. Okay, the point is, I would protest, peacefully. But why do you have to go after ICE like these left-wing kooks are doing? It's all left-wing. This is their plan. I don't know what they're trying to prove. We got Tom Homan, thank God, and he's going to arrest you people. And you're all left-wing kooks, and you're never going to win again. Oh, I heard Buttigieg the other day. We got to get away from woke. Now they say it. They're desperate. They're a desperate party. They're never going to win again. We got the greatest president right now. Because you know why you don't like him? Because he's doing things that your vegetables Biden couldn't do. He couldn't even sign executive orders. He should be in prison. Look at what he's done. 20 million people in this, letting these people come in. That's what they're doing now. It's unbelievable. But you Democrats believe in illegals and pedophiles. Have a good day.
Here's a bit more from Tom Homan about the ICE operations in Los Angeles. Here he's discussing the public officials who speak out against ICE operations.
I mean, we got people like, Hakeem Jeffries saying he's going to dox ICE employees. ICE agents out there with masks on. They're wearing masks to protect themselves and their families because they've been doxxed, their families have been doxxed, their life's been threatened, their families have been threatened. I know myself, I had over 1,000 protesters at my house. I expect that as the borders are, but these men and women are putting their lives online every day. They arrested a lot of bad people yesterday and today. They arrested child sex offenders. They arrested people convicted of robbery. They arrested public safety, not only significant public safety threats, but national security threats. They arrested gang members. We're making Los Angeles safer. And Mayor Bass ought to be thanking us for making her city safer. And the term migrant, as Joe Concha rightfully said earlier, They're illegal aliens. There are illegal aliens in this country, and we welcome. We're the most giving country in the world. But these are illegal aliens who committed a crime by crossing this border illegally, then yet committed another crime. Again, yesterday's about a criminal investigation into money laundering, tax evasion, and some of the funds going to cartels in Mexico and Colombia that fund their operations of sending narcotics to this country, killing American people.
Now, while the National Guard deployment is set for Los Angeles, according to Trump's order, immigration enforcement has been happening across the country. Here's a story in Axios where the hot spots are for immigration enforcement. This is a story from June the 3rd, looking at the 287G agreements between ICE and law enforcement agencies by state. It says efforts to arrest and remove unauthorized immigrants appear most aggressive in 5 southern states with Democratic-leaning cities, while deeply red rural states are seeing less activity, according to an Axios analysis. Our review of removal orders, pending deportation cases, and agreements between immigration officials and local law enforcement agency sheds light on where the Trump administration is dispatching resources to support its mass deportation plan. The analysis shows local law enforcement agencies in Texas, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, and Virginia have been most cooperative with Immigration and Customs Enforcement in rounding up immigrants through deals known as 287G agreements. There are 629 such agreements now in place across the country. About 43% of them are in Florida, followed by 14% in Texas and 5% in Georgia. Again, that story in Axios. Let's go back to your calls. Keith is in Madison, Wisconsin on our line for independence. Good morning, Keith.
Good morning. Hey, why do you show clips of that fascist network? That Holman is a total fascist. This guy.
We try to include a variety of news sources as our sources.
Yeah, well, why don't you quote the World Socialist website, for example, or other left-wing outlets? You quote liberals to outright fascist, and we're not getting all sides. Okay, I think immigration is a human right, and I totally support the people of L.A. for resisting and rebelling against this thuggery, this Nazi Gestapo-like tactics by ICE. They're not arresting criminals only. They're arresting 4-year-old children. They're arresting mothers and separating mothers from their families and their husbands from their wives and you can't expect people in L.A. to curl up like in a Buddha pose when they're brutalized and terrorized like this. So I hope this spreads all over the country, and Trump isn't going to be able to squelch this. This is a human right, and these people have every right to rebel against this garbage. And they're great American citizens. Good American citizens rebel against this fascism.
Next up is Betsy in Charlotte, North Carolina, on our line for Democrats. Good morning, Betsy.
Good morning. Nice to talk to you. I'm a retired AP government teacher and daughter of the greatest generation. Many gone would be aghast at these. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Betsy. Please continue.
Okay. The greatest generation, mostly gone now, that we are remembering, and my generation, boomers, are aghast that we are having to put up with this abominable, weak imitation, Trump's version of the SS, arresting innocent people, anybody they can find, anybody they can blame. This is a nation of immigrants. We have had problems with xenophobia from extreme groups all the way back in the history of this country, and they've always been wrong. This is a terrible indication of a position that the U.S. government is in right now. We have corrupt, ignorant, prejudiced, abominable excuses for humanity running things. We need to get rid of them. We need to reinstate real United States democracy. We are tolerant of people who want to come here and be U.S. citizens. We should not be beating up on them, jailing innocent children.
Okay. Patricia is in Sewell, New Jersey on our line for Republicans. Good morning, Patricia.
Yes, good morning. I am watching your TV advertisement right now. And what I'm hearing from the American people on the phone is absolutely unwarranted. The American people in this country do not realize and don't want to realize the depth of what is happening. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, has the right and the go light to do exactly what he is doing. These people do not belong here. And what they are doing right now, okay, plainly, everybody could see that it is not right what they're doing. They are criminals. They are doing exactly what they are worth. They are destroying our property. They do not belong here. Right then and there, the people that are on the phone, that are calling in and saying that, putting the children in, the children have nothing to do with this, okay? They have sent their children over here to be free of everything that they could get, okay? Now, that's not the story right now. The story is that the people in this country that are wise up and look to see exactly what they are doing to our country. Plain and simple. People in America, wise up. Thank you.
So Patricia was saying that President Trump has the right to do what he's been doing, what he's doing with the calling up the National Guard to California. The New York Times has a story about this issue saying Trump is calling up National Guard troops under a rarely used law. President Trump bypassed the authority of Governor Gavin Newsom to call up 2,000 National Guard troops to quell immigration protests. President Trump took extraordinary action on Saturday by calling up 2,000 National Guard troops to quell immigration protests in California, making rare use of federal powers and bypassing the authority of the state's governor, Gavin Newsom. It is the first time since 1965 that a president has activated a state's National Guard force without a request from the state's governor, according to Elizabeth Gotein, Senior Director of the Liberty and National Security Program at the Brennan Center for Justice, an independent law and policy organization. The last time was when President Lyndon B. Johnson sent troops to Alabama to protect civil rights demonstrators in 1965, she said. Mr. Newsom, a Democrat, immediately rebuked the president's action, saying that move is purposefully inflammatory and will only escalate tensions, Mr. Newsom said, adding that, quote, this is the wrong mission and will erode public trust. Back to your calls. Paul is in Milton, Massachusetts, on our line for independence. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning. Thank you to C-SPAN. We had an election a while ago, and we have a president who is taking his job seriously. Your earlier callers refer to illegals as refugees, immigrants. They are not. They are crime causers, and they are breaking the law. Thank God that we have a president that does represent the silent majority. Have a work ethic. Get out there. Don't be looking for everything that is being provided to these illegals, these criminals, simply so many people have a job. It's simply outrageous. And again, I would like to encourage the silent majority to do what they can to support this president. Write a letter, send a thank you, raise a question as necessary, But please, silent majority, get involved. Thank you.
Speaking of President Donald Trump, he posted on Truth Social about the governor of California's response to his National Guard order, saying, if Governor Gavin Newsom of California and Mayor Karen Bass of Los Angeles can't do their jobs, which everyone knows they can't, then the federal government will step in and solve the problem. Riots and looters the way it should be solved. That was a post on Truth Social. Rosemary is in Virginia on our line for Democrats. Good morning, Rosemary.
Good morning, and thank you for C-SPAN. This move is all about the next election. These people need to step back and take a breath. He's setting up a scenario to call national law. He is going to shut down the next election. Please, everybody, just step back, quiet down. Don't give him no reason to declare anything to destroy our next election. This is what all of this is about. And I don't see him going into red states being this extreme. He's doing it only with the blue states. I don't see him arresting Caucasian illegal immigrants per se. This is about the next election, for him to declare martial law. Everybody, please step back, take a breath, and just be calm. Don't give him an excuse to declare martial law. This is what this is leading up to. Thank you for taking my call.
We have a comment from Lisa Wright on Facebook who says, fully support. They are doing what they need to do. And if some mayors and governors would do their jobs and follow our laws and not harbor these criminals, then ICE wouldn't have to go in and drag them out. Ken is in Lancaster, South Carolina, on our line for Republicans. Good morning, Ken.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes. Could you please give me a little time, because it's been like a year since I got in. First, I'm a black veteran, and less than 1% of illegal immigrants is working in agriculture, picking fruits and vegetables, and people act like that's the only thing that they are doing. They're doing other jobs, and I agree, corporations should be punished. But as a black man, I'm disappointed in my black Americans. We only 13 to 14% of the population. A black Harvard professor testified before Congress years ago, illegal immigration is hurting all Americans, but it's hurting black Americans the most. The Democrats is not fighting for Americans, the high cost of health insurance and et cetera. They're fighting for people who don't supposed to be in America. President Joe Biden relaxed the laws, remain in Mexico, and allow 15 million illegal immigrants to cross into the United States illegally. 26,000 communist Chinese flew 30,000 people in a month from Venezuela and other countries to get on government services and benefits. Half of them is working-age people who cannot speak any English, and if an illegal immigrant brought their children in America, they knew they was breaking the law. We and our American politicians are going to fight for Americans. And one more thing, Donald Trump won the election, the popular vote, the electoral college vote, on a mandate of deporting illegal immigrants. What about Americans, especially black Americans? Don't you care about your own future kids and grandkids' prosperity in America? And technology is going to wipe out hundreds of millions of jobs in the near future. It's about laws. You cannot go to any other country in the world and get benefits and think you're going to stay. It's not going to work. Thank you.
Ken was mentioning the various industries where undocumented immigrants work. It's a little bit challenging to find recent data on this, but I did find a report from New American Economy that looked at this back in 2018 and found that the top industries by undocumented share of the workforce in 2018 13.7% in agriculture, 12.1% in construction, 9.7% in administrative support, 7.1% in tourism, hospitality, and food service, and then 6.2% in general services. Anna is in Chicago, Illinois, on our line for independence. Good morning, Anna.
Good morning. My comments, many of the callers say immigrants, and we're doing this to immigrants. You have to distinguish between immigrants and illegal immigrants, and that's the problem. You have to make that distinction. These people that they're arresting are illegal immigrants. Now, there may be some people who are not illegal who accidentally get caught up in this, but I support getting rid of all of these people who are here illegally. And so, well, they're not criminals. They didn't do all these criminal things. They're criminals by being here illegally. That's a crime. And they're committing this crime every day. Repeat offenders, serial illegals. So that alone is a reason to get them out of this country. And they can come back like other people, immigrants who come here. And so I have no sympathy for them at all. I think this offering them a reward for self-deport, increase it, triple it if you self-deport within the next 6 months, and then double it if the 6 months after that, to give you an incentive to do the right thing. And these people who are doing this, they have to wear masks because otherwise they're just doing their job. You do for the police, if they come and arrest somebody who broke in your house, you don't put their names everywhere because you're glad for them to get the person out of your house. But they break in the country, you don't care. And like the last gentleman said, they're hurting mostly the black folks who are, or anybody who has little education or don't come from wealthy families, and they need these little jobs. These illegals are taking those jobs, and that's not fair. So I support getting them out of here as soon as possible. Thank you.
Next up is Rick in Tampa, Florida, on our line for Democrats. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning, C-SPAN. My question is, we're real quick to deploy the National Guard in Los Angeles. Where was the National Guard on January 6th when the insurrection occurred? Last night, Good Day and Good Night, the play with George Clooney, showed the parallels between 1950s and 2025. And the showdown between CBS News legend Edward R. Murrow and Senator Joseph McCarthy. And the parallels between then and now are very real. And as far as I'm concerned, I will not be afraid to speak out against the atrocities that are going on in this country. The Proud Boys have announced that they may sue the federal government for $100 million for when they were prosecuted for January 6th. And what happened with Ashley Babbitt, her family sued, and President Trump gave her $5 million when she was intruding and told not to advance in the Capitol that day. It's just where we're at in this country is really, really scary. Thank you for your time.
Rick mentioned the lawsuit being pursued by the Proud Boys. There's a story about this in USA Today. Proud Boys who stormed the Capitol on January 6th sue the government for $100 million. In interviews with USA Today in February, Proud Boys leaders defended their participation in the insurrection and said they'd do it again. 5 members of the right-wing extremist group, the Proud Boys, who stormed the U.S. Capitol during the January 6th insurrection and were later pardoned by President Donald Trump, are suing the government for more than $100 million. They allege the Justice Department and the FBI violated their constitutional rights after arresting and jailing them for their participation in the effort to stop Congress from certifying former President Joe Biden's election victory in 2020. The Proud Boys and their families were subjected to forceful government raids, solitary confinement, and cruel and unusual treatment, they argue in their lawsuit, which seeks $100 million in damages plus 6% post-judgment interest. Now, back to your thoughts on the ICE raids, as well as President Donald Trump ordering the National Guard deployment to Los Angeles. We'll go to Sandy in Sorrento, Florida, on our line for Independence. Good morning, Sandy.
Hi, good morning. Just even hearing that the Proud Boys are suing is heartbreaking, because if they allow this is just funding the Proud Boys. And so the reason for my call is, I think about Ellis Island, and we wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the immigration that was allowed for my grandparents and their parents. And I think about the special visas that, I work for Walt Disney World, and the people who they're here on special visas, Haitians that I train, and Venezuelans and things like that, and they are here legally, and they work very hard. It's not true that immigrants don't work hard. They are hardworking people, and they are just here to get a better life, just like our ancestors were. And I think it's just a shame that our government cannot be democratic. That's the problem in America, is that we cannot come together. I'm not a Republican, I'm a centrist, and that we cannot come together as Americans and work this out. I believe that there are some things that Trump are doing that is right, and some things that Biden did right. One thing that's the most important that we need to work together. Thank you.
Jerry is in New Jersey on our line for Republicans. Good morning, Jerry.
Good morning. I was just doing a little research, and it said that on MSM that Medicaid had 1.3 million illegals on it, and that $6.5 billion was spent on the illegals. Now, to me, that $6.5 billion would help a lot of Americans and not illegals. Now, I have a nurse friend whose daughter was killed by an illegal. He was drunk. He didn't have anything legal in his vehicle. He killed her daughter, hit her, killed her while she was jogging, and then just went back to Mexico. So I think if people knew someone who had lost their sister or their mother or their daughter from these illegals, they'd have a different perspective on what's going on. Now, my grandparents came from Ellis Island, but they came legally. That's the only way we want all these immigrants, as they're called. Now, I'm shocked that 80%, this was an 80-20 thing when Trump ran, that America do want these people not here. They want all those rapists and murderers and child pedophiles and drug dealers. We don't want them here. We want them gone. I don't understand how so many people say this is horrible, this is terrible. But, 6 Dems went to El Salvador to see this Garcia, and they have video of him trafficking, human trafficking. They showed videos of it. And all these Democrats, I'm shocked that 6 Democrats went to El Salvador for this Garcia, that they're rioting at the ICE detention centers. Hakeem Jeffries says, get their masks off. We want to know them all. Why didn't he say that about the hundreds of students at all the colleges that had the masks on? Yeah, you want the masks off on the people that are protecting us, but they don't want the masks off on all the rioters at all the colleges. My granddaughter is best friends with a Jewish girl, and they were spit on in Columbia University, and my granddaughter was spit on just because she's got a close friend that's Jewish. There's too much hate, and the Democratic Party, everything that Trump does, they resist. But I just don't understand how they can resist getting rid of these violent offenders.
So
What
Jerry,
is wrong with that?
I want to circle back to something you mentioned about Democrats going to El Salvador. Those Democrats went to visit with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and on Friday, Attorney General Pam Bondi announced that Kilmar Abrego Garcia has returned to the U.S. and is facing human trafficking charges.
Abrego Garcia has landed in the United States to face justice. On May 21st, a grand jury in the Middle District of Tennessee returned a sealed indictment charging Abrego Garcia with alien smuggling and conspiracy to commit alien smuggling in violation of Title 8 U.S.C. 1324. We want to thank President Bukele for agreeing to return Abrego Garcia to the United States. Our government presented El Salvador with an arrest warrant, and they agreed to return him to our country. We're grateful to President Bukele for agreeing to return him to our country to face these very serious charges. This is what American justice looks like. Upon completion of his sentence, we anticipate he will be returned to his home country of El Salvador. The grand jury found that over the past 9 years, Abrego Garcia has played a significant role in an alien smuggling ring. They found this was his full-time job, not a contractor. He was a smuggler of humans and children and women. He made over 100 trips, the grand jury found, smuggling people throughout our country, MS-13 members, violent gang terrorist organization members throughout our country. Thousands of illegal aliens were smuggled. This is especially disturbing because Abrego Garcia is also alleged with transporting minor children. The defendant traded the innocence of minor children for profit.
In a response to the indictment, Kilmar Abrego Garcia's lawyer, as reported here in ABC News, called the charges against his client an abuse of power. Quote, "They'll stop at nothing at all, even some of the most preposterous charges imaginable, just to avoid admitting that they made a mistake, which is what everyone knows happened in this case," said attorney Simon Sandoval-Moshenberg. Quote, "Mr. Garcia is going to be vigorously defending the charges against him," the attorney said. That was in ABC News reporting. Now, back to your thoughts on the ICE raids as well as President Trump ordering a National Guard deployment to California. John is in New Hampshire on our line for Independence. Good morning, John.
Thank you. I think we need to clarify illegal alien is a term. It's in our legal documents, and the opposite of illegal alien is an immigrant. These people are not immigrants that ICE is trying to take out of the country. They're illegal aliens. The callers that call in here, I can't believe some of the hate I hear. We just want to get illegal aliens out of the country, especially the ones that have committed crimes. We should never see again like we saw under Biden, where 51 illegal aliens try to come into the country and they all die in the back of a truck because they just burned. They burnt up. It's incredible, some of the callers on here. 50% of the country or better voted for Trump. Why are only 25% of the callers on this line or on this show Trump supporters? Shouldn't it be 50%? I mean, the hate is incredible. Now, as far as people, we're not going to have food, we're not going to have this, we're not going to have that. Name me a product that we can't pick with a machine at this point.
even strawberries or cotton or anything like that. We have machines that pick this stuff. So as far as these illegal aliens being in our country, I don't know what people are thinking here that call this show. And they get so angry. They hate Trump so much. He's this, he's that. And that's the other thing. You'll stop callers from calling each other names, but you'll let callers call Trump Hitler and Nazi and everything else. Those people don't even know what those terms mean, and you're letting them get away with it. Maybe you could explain to them when they say things like that. I mean, think of all the words out there now. Nazi, Hitler. Who wrote all those words? Democrats. Hateful Democrats. I don't know what else to say. I just, this lawfare, that's why I voted for Trump. I never voted for Trump. The lawfare made me vote for Trump. And you people are continuing it. The judges out there are continuing the lawfare. They don't belong in the process they're in. This is between Trump and Congress. Congress releases the funds. If Congress didn't like what Trump was doing with the tariffs, it's their job to stop him.
Okay.
Nazis.
Let's hear from some other folks. Linda is in St. Louis, Missouri, on our line for Democrats. Good morning, Linda.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call.
Can you turn down the volume on your TV? Then go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for taking my call. Am I ready to speak now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. First of all, Pam Bondi, I don't believe anything she says. I guess they're going to, maybe if they had done what they had did in the beginning and admit that you made a mistake, it would be better. I don't know what it is with all the lies. And the woman from Illinois, the woman that says that the immigrants are hurting the blacks most of all. I don't know any black people that picked a strawberry or anything. I know plenty black people that have bachelor, masters, and PhDs. So they can forget that crap. No, they're not hurting us. I don't see anything wrong with these people wanting a better life. And all I hear is hate, hate, hate. And it's always these old white folks when they were not here first either. They all immigrated from somewhere else. And another thing, too, when they talk about the immigrant that killed someone, yeah, they might have killed someone. My niece was killed, but she wasn't killed by an immigrant, so they can stop trying to highlight that type of hatred because all these people do less crimes than what we do here that are U.S. citizens. They just need to stop. It's just greed, 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 and hate. And I really hate that. When I look around and see people standing next to me these days that put Donald Trump with his hatred in that office, it just makes me think even more. Is this what we have really come to? What is America now? I have never seen any of this nonsense, none of it, and it really needs to stop. Thank you for taking my call.
Betty is in Blacksburg, South Carolina, on our line for Republicans. Good morning, Betty.
What it is the Democrats is the one that's destroying America. They are the main ones. They just keep on, like they said, keep on, and keep on. Y'all say what you want to. The people that calls in, and all it's about is Trump. What I don't see. He did when he was in the first time. You didn't see all this.
Betty, what are your thoughts on the ICE raid as well as President Trump ordering the National Guard deployment to California?
Whatever he orders, he's doing it for the American people. The people that, that voted for him. All these people, the Democrats are destroying this world. You can bet. And they're probably laughing, but they're going with us.
Okay. Bruce is in Summitville, Indiana, on our line for Independence. Good morning, Bruce.
Thanks for taking my call. I guess I have a question. I've tried to look it up, and we have laws on how many people are allowed in to the United States, but nobody ever talks about those being enforced or what the penalty is for politicians that don't try to get it stopped at the number that's set by law. So I just haven't ever understood that, and it's not something that you hear much about. So I guess that's my main thought on the immigration. And
okay. Charles is in Washington, D.C. on our line for Democrats. Good morning, Charles.
Hey, C-SPAN, how y'all doing out there? First of all, a little history lesson. People are not aliens. They're human beings. And I guess in the Bible it says, how do you treat the least of you? I know for a long time in Black America, they were the ones at the bottom of the economic ladder. Now, the new sort of people, actually people who had been on this continent before the Europeans that got here, the people from South America, Mexico, Native Americans. So everybody's an immigrant here except for the people that were here before. Talking about illegal, how can you be illegal to be a human being? How do we treat the least of us? Raise ourselves up with ourselves. Have some spirituality about you and understand what the Bible says. Help the least of us. The people who are trying to come here to get a better shot at life, and people are trying to push them out because of need or greed or fear, mainly fear that somebody else will take over. Give people a chance. It's nothing about people being illegal. It's nothing about because you own a land on this particular planet and somebody's trying to take this little piece of land on this small planet we own together. And we live here together, and we got to figure out how to coexist together or cooperate with each other opposed to pushing people out or being afraid of somebody new. Everybody that came to America, if you weren't Native American, you are immigrants here as well.
Ed is in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, on our line for Republicans. Good morning, Ed.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for taking my call. I'm a little disappointed this morning hearing some of my fellow Republicans speak with such a just openly dehumanizing lens aimed towards our fellow Americans or Americans-to-be. I'd like to just say briefly, that Donald Trump himself is not the person who is authoring the executive orders and the stuff that he is enforcing right now. Most of those executive orders are understood to be written by Stephen Miller. And I'd just like to point out briefly that Stephen Miller's own family, when they arrived here in 1903, his great-grandfather had $8 to his name and tuberculosis. And under those terms, under today's rules, he would be rejected, and he would have to wait more than 2 years to even try to reapply. I would like to say that when it comes to what we're talking about right now, that the current structure of the approach to the federal government and ICE to what we want to call, quote-unquote, illegal aliens is actually not discernibly different from that of the brown shirts and the fascists in early Nazi Germany. And that appeasing these people will never work. And it's very disappointing for me to hear people who claim to be conservatives speak about people who are blatantly subverting checks and balances and constitutional order. It is a misrepresentation of the facts, as if to be kind, to say that 50% of the electorate voted for Donald Trump. And just because the Congress is unable to pass legislation, that is why they are letting the executive work the way that it is. You can let this happen now, but you're setting a precedent later for something worse. And it is actually very simple, and that is not conservatism, and that is not conservative politics. It is not the Republican Party that you claim to represent. We live in a time right now where these people are trying to say that they're going to revoke people's visas, anybody's visa, for being, quote-unquote, anti-Semitic, for criticizing the state of Israel. That is absurd. As an American, you have a right. As someone who's just in this country, you are afforded the due process of law. Even Antonin Scalia himself agreed with that. And the simple fact is that everybody has a right to their day in court. If I were Mr. Garcia's lawyers, I would file for an immediate dismissal of all charges based on malicious prosecution. I would also, for the last thing I want to say before I get cut off, is I would like to remind everybody, okay, that what is going on right now is a distraction from the fact that just like last time, this administration does not know how to govern. They are the dog that caught the car. They live on fear. If you want to talk about a body count, these people let 1 million of our countrymen die. They feast on fear. Okay, Pam Bondi let Epstein.
Where are you getting that number? Oh, are you referring to the COVID pandemic?
Who was in charge during COVID? They'll let it happen again.
All right, let's hear from some other folks. Jean is in Virginia on our line for independence. Good morning, Jean.
Yes, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, America. I like to look at myself as being, I'm not red, I'm not blue, I'm not independent. I'm American. So I just would like to also comment, there's some really great things that people are saying. Everyone is saying we have to calm down, everybody calm down, and let's just look at a couple of the other callers where they talked about everyone is illegal until you apply for citizenship, and that's true. And the gentleman that just spoke, he made some very good points about Stephen Miller's family. So again, we all have to, unless you were brought here by force, everyone was illegal until they applied. So what do? We're here. There's a chain of authority, a chain of command, and by those individuals advising the president to send in the National Guard, it took over the authority of the leadership or government of California, which does not look right. Allow that government, communicate with that government on what to do. So what I would ask, what is the government of California going to do? Governor Newsom, what actions can you take now? You have to, of course, get a hold of the situation, let the people know, calm down, this is what we're going to do. If ICE is arresting them, have a process and get your team of lawyers, have a processing center in the jails and the facilities that they're being held at, and start their process for if they are illegal. For applying for a green card. No, it's not right to come here illegally, and it's not right to be here for so many years without applying to go about it the right way. So government leadership, Governor Newsom, I would encourage you to have a press conference, and in spite of what has been done, go ahead on and set up some procedures to take care of the people that have been wrongly or that have been put in jail. And then, of course, encourage those people that are here illegally. Set up some processing centers within the counties to go ahead on and start their process for applying for citizenship. That way people are not living in fear. And yes, companies have to be held accountable if they are hiring or employing those individuals and they knowingly know it. Of course, we know that people go in and they can take ID cards and driver's license and
so we're just about out of time, Gina. I want to get to a couple more folks. Let's hear from Mitch in Seattle on our line for Democrats. Good morning, Mitch.
Hi, good morning, America. We're heading for a civil war, people. It's time to wake up. This administration is disgusting. They're acting like they're fascist. This is 1930s all over. What happened in Germany all over again. You can see it. The propaganda from these so-called politicians on the Republican side is disgusting. Some of these comments are great. The gal that talked about the black people, that she didn't have any problem with picking strawberries. You know, we don't have, these people aren't taking jobs from us. They're helping us. And it's disgusting to hear the propaganda from the right side, and they're believing it. I ask our Republican people out there, wake up. This immigration was all going to be settled with a Republican-sponsored bill that Trump killed during the pre-election time. He killed it because he wanted to use this to divide us. Republicans, Democrats, get together. Open your mind. Okay. This is a political toy he's using.
All right, let's hear from Steve in Anaheim, California, on our line for Republicans. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Kimberly. Oh, my God, you people have got to quit demonizing each other. I've said this before, it's counterproductive. Now, the raids they made out here, basically, the crime is really out of control. We've got small businesses closing, because I'm in Southern California. I'm not in Northern California, so I get firsthand of this stuff. Okay, so the small businesses are having to close their businesses because they just walk in and they steal whatever they want and they can't take it. You got jewelry stores that they're breaking in, cutting open the safes and stealing and putting these people out of business. Now, the ICE came out, plus you got gangs coming up from Chile that are planting cameras in people's yards and then breaking into their houses. I mean, this is what's going on out here. I mean, it kills me that you people never look at the criminality that, some of this immigration brings. Now, the ICE has come down here to arrest, whoever they got on the record that has broken the law and tried to get them out of the country. Now, the riots that you see on TV are kind of overblown. They weren't as bad as the Black Lives Matter riots, where they were actually coming in at night and just destroying businesses. This is just an orderly process of where they have to go into the building, where they have, courts and procedures, and they go through this, and then they get turned over to ICE, and then they
Steve,
head out of
if
the
you
country.
think that the protests are being overblown, what do you think of the president's decision to deploy the National Guard?
I think he overstepped his boundaries, too. What is he going to do? They're going to bring the National Guard out here, and they're just going to stand around and do nothing? I mean, it's not. I mean, it's just the press. Oh, here we got a riot. Let's put it on the news, and then everybody picked it up. It wasn't that big of a riot. Okay, it was just a bunch of. It's in Los Angeles. Most of the people in Los Angeles are Hispanic. All right, so what did you think was going to happen? Especially since it's in downtown Los Angeles, they're going to profanity. But, it's just, like I said, it's overblown. It's, they came in, they removed some criminals, and they've got that, pro-immigrant.
We are out of time for this segment, but thank you to everyone who called in this hour. Coming up on Washington Journal later on, we're going to be joined by Sophia Tripoli, Health Policy Senior Director at Families USA, who will discuss the impact of the GOP reconciliation bill on Medicaid and health care programs. But up next, Hudson Institute Defense Strategy Senior Fellow Aaron McLean will join us to discuss the recent Ukrainian drone strike on Russia's Air Force, as well as lessons for U.S. readiness. We'll be right back.
And a count of 2 balls and 1 strike.